Extra credits. Extra credits. Listen the fuck up, my friends. Look at this. Extra Credits is a gaming channel, right? Well, they're like a...
Are you looking to learn more?
Shut up! They're like a games analysis channel, you know? And they're, they do like these really short animated video essays where they talk about gaming culture or an aspect of video game design. They tend to be more on like the design element thing, like technical stuff, you know? And I used to watch these videos like all the time. These were like really good entry-level videos to familiarize yourself with concepts around game design. And lately they've done stuff in mythology and history too, and like mythology, and they've actually really diversified their content. I'm not like historically literate enough to know if their history videos are responsible and educational, or if they're mostly just like sensationalist flair, which I wouldn't really like, you know? I think history should be taught responsibly. So I don't know about that, but their game design stuff has always been pretty good, right? Okay, so here's what made me not responsible, absolutely terrible. Okay. I'm seeing some mixed results. I'm seeing some mixed results right here. Whatever the case is, what made me stop watching is that the guy who used to do the voiceovers left and made his own channel, and they used to have this guy, and he would do like this weird fucking sped up voice.
The only light is the glow of the monitor. The only sound is the game's gentle music.
Like this hamster voice?
It is 3 a.m., you've got class in the morning, and you should stop, but you're so close to getting that next level.
Like the hamster voice? Anyway, when hamster voice left, that was it for me, okay? Hamster voice was my guiding light through Extra Credits, you know? I feel lost without him. And maybe Extra Credits does too, because I've heard they posted Cringe recently. So Extra Credits just a week ago posted a video called Stop Normalizing Nazis, Socially Conscious Game Design by Extra Credits Incorporated. And I know that Extra Credits is generally progressive leaning. I mean, look at this bitch. She's got green hair, right? That's all you need to know. So typically, when it comes to political takes from Extra Credits, I'm going to lean towards being generous towards them. I've heard a lot of drama about this video. Like, so much fucking drama. I saw people post it. It was on, wasn't it like front paged on Reddit? Look at the fucking like-dislike ratio. Holy shit. 13K to 175K, I guarantee you there is not a single video of the hundreds they've put out that has come even close to this ratio. Now, I said I normally fall in favor of being charitable towards politics like this. I don't think that Extra Credits is like this radical communist YouTube channel or whatever, but they generally tend to be progressive, and they argue in favor of inclusivity in games, from like including like handicapped people in the games design, subtitles, color blindness settings, to diversity in the presentation of games. So like, okay, that's cool. However, from what I've heard of this video, a video I haven't seen, they say some things I'm probably going to disagree with. Here is my one thing, though. Here's my juicy little nugget of hypocrisy I want to throw out there. I guarantee you a lot of people who are complaining about this video, and a lot of people who have gone on to make reaction videos about this video, like Critical or whatever, where they bitch and moan about this video's contents, I guarantee you those are the same people who are saying that we should stop putting all these fucking progressive agenda, SJW, trans, non-binary people, stop forcing black people into games, stop forcing women and gays and lesbians where they're not needed or wanted or belong. I guarantee you the people arguing that this video, saying that the inclusion of Nazis in video games often like leads to like negative politics, the people criticizing this video for that purpose are the same who do the exact same thing on the opposite side. What's up? I love how you interrupt me literally mid-sentence.
Well, just in the YouTube chat, there's somebody
somebody named Emperor Tiger Star who has 278K subs, so I just thought you'd maybe say hi. They seem to do History Channel.
Hey, Emperor Tiger Star. I don't know who the fuck you are, but you're bigger than me. What's up? All right. Let's hit it the fuck up, comrades. Let's see how much of this I disagree with. Let me know how the fucking audio ratio is, okay? I'm always adjusting this shit and I never get it right.
There you are, playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is. And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
That's kind of a weird opening. All right, let's see. I'm going to be charitable, okay?
This is bad on so many levels. No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis. And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable.
Okay. Oh boy. I'm going to let him go a little bit further before I respond to this.
And before anyone equivocates,
these are some really strong moral claims out the gate. Like, no one should ever do this. I take issue with... I take issue with anyone who uses this kind of... You'll notice, by the way, that as like as dogmatic as I seem sometimes, I never make statements like that. I'll never make statements like, in creating media, you should never do this, you should never have that, this should never happen. I never make statements like that. Because as a rule utilitarian, I believe the morality of an action is determined by its consequences, and by the consequences of the actions it would enable in the future, not necessarily intrinsic to the action itself. Therefore, I would never say that you should never do something, only that you should be cognizant of the consequences. But okay, let's...
and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis. If they...
Oh, well, okay. Oh, hold on.
And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis, if they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi. In that multiplayer shooter, when it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life? Yeah, that's a big old nope.
All right, this is really fucking weird. This is really fucking weird. Okay, yeah, alright, let's back the fuck up. Nice meme, bro. Okay, so I'm gonna try to steelman this point here. So the argument that's being made is that very often the mechanics of games that include Nazis, usually like World War II multiplayer shooters, because that's in vogue, or has been for a while, that the mechanics of games will very often put you in the position of playing as a Nazi soldier and will implicitly suggest that, oh, you're just a soldier of one faction amongst many, fighting, you're all just fighting for territory, whatever, and that the politics of who's actually the good person and who's actually the bad person are very, very rarely addressed in the context of that interaction. This is a really weird argument. This is a really fucking strange argument. Like, okay. So here's my perspective on this. All right. Listen, media has okay, listen, video games are art, okay? Media has purpose, and the reason why decisions are made in regards to who you can play as in a game or how the mechanics play themselves out or any of a myriad number of things that affect how we experience a game, these are usually A, planned by intelligent and cognizant people, and B, have meaningful political outcomes. That's usually what happens. Very rarely do these things just sort of chance out of the ether and then have no outcomes on their way out. And I am usually very, very much in favor of people being cognizant of the impact that a mechanic or a setting in a game will have. So, for example, here's an example, okay? If there was a game in which you play as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, apple-cheeked German boy, and you play, it's like Wolfenstein, okay? It's like Wolfenstein, all right? You play as this apple-cheeked boy, and you grow up in the Weimar Republic in Germany, and you watch as your country is brought to its knees by the traitorous Treaty of Versailles and the dastardly Jew who connive and ally with the corporations to charge up interest rates and bring up inflation to destroy the Aryan race. And then finally, heroically, you get the opportunity to take arms and fight against the menace. And you play as an SS officer and you have alternating campaign missions between you like rounding up Jews in Polish ghettos and you fighting on the Eastern Front to destroy the communist menace, also brought about by the Jewish intellect. That game would have some problems. That game's politics would implicitly steelman and support and humanize the perspective of Nazism. And that's a problem. No one would make a game like that, obviously. We all know that. We all recognize that it's not the inclusion of Nazis that is the problem, it's the way in which they're presented. There are tons of video games with Nazis. The original Wolfenstein had Nazis. You fought robot in a fucking mecha. No one gives a shit about that, okay? It's the way in which the themes are presented, the way in which it sort of cajoles audience alliances, the way in which it presents historical events. That's what people take issue with. And what this video is saying is that it's not enough to have a game where the campaign sort of expresses a politically responsible understanding of the Second World War and Nazism and what have you. It's not enough that you do that. You also need to be careful with how, mechanically speaking, in multiplayer environments, usually, the role of Nazis fighting against the Allied soldiers is contextualized. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't know if this is a realistic... Like, let's go a little farther. Okay, let's go a little farther. I've got thoughts on this.
Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well. There you are, playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist.
What?
You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this,
Oh no,
and
this
yet
is worse.
second verse, same as the first. There it is. I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game.
Alright, wait, no, this is worse. Maybe I shouldn't be Steelmanning. Oh no. Guys, they're not terrorists. They're freedom fighters.
We can do better than this. Even if you put aside...
Never say the phrase, we can do better than this, okay? Unless you're Bernie Sanders talking about how this country is the wealthiest in the world and we still have homeless people, and you're trying to, like, make a plea towards the greatness of the country, never say, we can do better than this, okay?
All of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or who have had generations of their families wiped out by Nazis, no one should have to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent.
Then don't buy the game. No, I fundamentally reject this argument. The idea that because some people might be offended by being able to play as controversial, I'll say it, yeah, controversial. Nazis are controversial. They're bad and controversial. Being able to play as controversial like factions? Nah, fuck that. What? Are you kidding me? Wait, so can we not have any does that mean that we have to axe all of the shooters where you play as like Russian soldiers as well because the Holdomer? Or you have to axe any militaristic games set in the medieval times because everyone was brutal to everyone else? Or like what, you can't play as the fucking Han Chinese because... No, this is ridiculous. Like the American Empire is responsible for propping up authoritarian regimes, fascists, dictatorships, and terrorist groups all across the world. The United States of America is a terrorist nation. Should we not be allowed to play as the United States of America because people in other countries, people from Syria, people from Yemen, might be triggered as fuck to play in the context of one of our soldiers and see that be heroic? The answer is yes. Fuck the troops. But nonetheless, this is a really fucking bad argument. Jesus Christ.
Without actually opting in.
Do we really have that many tankies in chat that me mentioning like the Holodomor, the death of millions of people due to negligence on the part of Stalin's government? Or are we really that mad about that? Tankies fucking out, okay? I've said multiple times, the only reason why there's any historical argument over whether or not the Holodomor was a genocide isn't because there's a question as to how much chaos or devastation there was, or whether or not it was intentional. The question is whether or not starving out like a region like that constitutes genocide on a technicality. Doesn't change the fact that millions of people die due to deliberate policy decisions by the government, okay? Fuck off, please.
Into it in your game. And by making people do so, we get them to stop thinking about it, to stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them. We make them just window dressing for entertainment. Those uniforms, those symbols, become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies. Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No. But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy.
All right. We're really triggering people in chat, huh? Yeah, we're triggering the shit out of you today. Fuck me. Okay. This is dumb on so many levels. There are so many fucking bad arguments here. I haven't even gotten to the technical side of things. Like, what, you never want... Like, wait. So, like, in a multiplayer shooter, you should literally never be allowed to play as a character from, like, a fascist regime? Or if you do, the game has to give you, like, a 30-second cutscene about how you're the bad guys? Or, like, what? Does the game have to contextualize it? Would it be, like, Counter-Strike or something? Terrorists win, fucking counter-terrorists win? Except on the German side, like, you're holding a bunch of Jews in a building that you're trying to light on fire or something. Like, what? I don't know how you would contextualize that in like a multiplayer match or something. This is so fucking stupid. Okay, for one, whether we like it or not, the inclusion of memorabilia or iconography, which is associated with fascist regimes, Nazis, what have you, whether we like it or not, that I really fucking hate you.
I just want a bagel. Thank you.
Whether we like it or not, that stuff is going to be used in commerce. That is going to lower the level of intrinsic disgust we get when we look at it. That's fine. Intrinsic disgust should not be the feeling we use to like negotiate our political attitudes towards Nazism. That's the exact argument that fucking reactionaries would make about trans people. You see, like, oh, the man cut their dick off? Oh yeah, I think it's mentally ill when men cut their dick off and wear dresses and pretend to be girls. That's disgusting! And when we show that on TV, we force children to think it's not disgusting. This isn't how you form fucking arguments. You don't... I'm gonna fucking kill myself. This is not how you form arguments, okay? Arguments are not formed via the decision to elevate iconography beyond the purview of commercialism so it may be forever known as disgusting. That can lead you down some really fucking bad roads, okay? You don't want that. That's not a good thing, alright? Fuck me.
It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous.
No. Edgy people have been you can't blame. They're literally blaming like edgy irreverence on the. So this is such a fucking leap. Edgy irreverence exists because the iconography associated with Nazism. It has been devalued because you can play as a Nazi in a video. No. This is such a fucking leap.
It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign that you should immediately leave. And if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas there. It seems
I fundamentally reject this association. The idea that that representing iconography in any context means you devalue it, means that people won't take it as seriously, means that they'll go and do Nazi shit themselves. If that is a link that you can draw, I would argue that it's an inevitable product of existing in a tech age where information can circulate rapidly, where commercialization ensures that all historical subjects get brought up and reused if it can drive a profit. I wouldn't argue that it has anything to do with the design of video games. What's more, I would argue that the logic that we should censor, and that's what this is calling for, the social censorship of the inclusion of iconography, which is associated with like fascist regimes, that censoring that to maintain a level of disgust will actually bring about far more fucking counter resistance. Can you fucking imagine the arguments you could hand over to Nazis with that one? Look, they fear us. They won't even let us be shown in their fucking media. They're trying to bury us. They're trying to bury the truth. You're handing them the fucking arguments there. This isn't how you defeat Nazism. You don't defeat it with disgust. You don't defeat it with dehumanization. You defeat it by laying bare the arguments and contradictions inherent to fascism and pissing all over them. Just urinate straight down the screaming throat of the straw man or the characterization that you build.
Seems like such a small and simple thing, but it's things like this that erode our safeguards against dangers we sacrifice so much to fight. By the time you've played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends. By the 1,000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them.
Okay, the idea that terrorists... Okay, like, this I think indicates the ideological fucking ignorance present in this video. The idea that terrorists are being associated with Nazis. Terrorist doesn't have an inherent political alignment. All a terrorist is a group of people who are politically minded, who engage in a act of targeted violence against a civilian population to achieve a political goal. Literally everything and everybody does this. Literally fucking everyone. Terrorism is politically neutral. It's anybody can engage in it. So the suggestion that wait, like most terrorists in video games are like Arab coded because that's what we're dealing with right now, or that's what we pretend we're dealing with. Are they saying that there are people who are like, after their like 10,000th Counter-Strike 1.6 match, they were like, ring, ring. Hey, Al-Qaeda? Listen, I've heard about you guys. You're doing pretty good work over there. In what world have we grown more tolerant of Arab terrorism because they're included flippantly in video games? Yeah, ISIS, listen, I loved your work in Counter-Strike Go. I'm taking a flight over. Yeah, I'll be on my way. I need to know. An argument can be made for the Nazi thing because we have Nazis in this country, people who are sympathetic to Nazis, people who share the values of Nazis. But the fact that they're throwing terrorists in here, a group of people which, again, assuming they're Arab coded, literally nobody fucking defends in America. There are no fucking like Al-Qaeda sympathizers in America, or maybe like a very small, but they aren't like politically relevant at all. So the fact that they're being lumped together makes me think that this is like this is just ideologically bankrupt. Like there's nothing. This is just paint over a fucking cake. Vosh, you're talking good about literal terrorists. Please stop. For one, I haven't spoken anything good about any terrorist groups in the entirety of this stream so far. For two, yeah, I will defend some terrorist groups. I'm a fucking leftist. There are terrorist groups all across the world that are lefty and, they get called terrorist groups, but in reality, it's just because of the supervising government, things like blah, 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 blah. Yet terrorist doesn't refer to like a specific group or a specific set of ideologies.
Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year. So
what global crisis? Wait, terrorists?
By the 1000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them. Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year.
Does it hurt it? What? If anything, I would make the argument that having anti-terrorist iconography in your media worsens the climate because it encourages people to be in favor of our like horrendous fucking foreign policy that leads to us creating the socioeconomic conditions in the rest of the world that leads to more terrorist groups being created. But he's arguing that terrorists being turned into memes like positively worsens the global what the fuck is he talking about? I would actually defend this argument if he was saying that by flippantly making terrorists the bad guys in every video game, you're contributing to a really bad like set of foreign policies or whatever. I would defend that argument. This is the opposite of that argument. This is so much worse.
So what do? That's easy. Don't make them morally equivalent. Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squads. Frame PvP as a training exercise, or simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue.
Okay. All right. Listen the fuck up. All right, here are some points. Okay. For one, somebody pointed out in chat, making Nazi iconography like a top secret thing that everyone's afraid to show for fear of them representing it in not negative enough of a light. This will only make it edgier and supported by edgier people. Okay, this doesn't improve anything. For two, the argument that global conflicts are being worsened by the positive representation of terrorist squads in fucking Counter-Strike is idiotic. For three, let's talk about the actual mechanics of the game here, okay? When people play historical shooters, your Call of Duties, your Counter-Strikes, your Battlefield, whatever, when you play these video games, okay, it would be fucking idiotic for you to play the story campaign where you play as Jack Steele, American paratrooper extraordinaire, who dive bombs a fucking concentration camp to gun down all the Nazi guards and liberate all the fucking Jewish and gay and gypsy Romani inmates, and then goes and fucks a hot French woman or something. For you to play that campaign and then you go into the fucking the multiplayer and it's Team Fortress 2 and it's fucking red v blue, fucking completely neutral, no one has accents, it's all Americans. That's fucking idiotic. Are you kidding? So there's no context in the purview of this video in which it is acceptable to represent or to play as a bad regime. Fuck it. America is bad. America has caused more damage to the global climate than Nazi Germany fucking ever could. Are you kidding me? With the IMF and the World Bank enforcing neoliberal policies that perpetuate poverty for literally billions of people, the propping up of fascist and authoritarian regimes, with America doing what it does and having done what it does, almost exclusively uncontested, with the exception of the Soviet Union, who also did a bunch of bad shit for the past 80 years. I make the argument, fuck America. You shouldn't be able to play as any games in which America is posed as the morally right group. Fuck that. Are you kidding me? From now on, listen. From now on, okay, anytime we're doing some COD 4 fighting against Middle Eastern insurgents shit, all right? When you play the campaign, I want to be playing as an 18-year-old Afghanistani kid who watches his family get blown out by a fucking drone strike, and then he goes out to the streets to deal with the incursion of fucking pig bastard Americans who have come to reclaim his land for the umpteenth fucking time, slaughtering his friends, slaughtering his family, bombing the cities he lives near, okay? And then in the multiplayer campaign, I don't want to see any fucking Americans there. I don't want kids getting the impression that the shit we're doing in the Middle East is morally acceptable by allowing them to play as Jack Slate with the fucking paratroopers logo and the green helmet and the "Let's go, boys! Hoorah!" shit. Fuck that. I don't want that shit normalized in my fucking games. Get that out of here. You're playing as fucking Ahmed, all right? Ahmed versus fucking, I don't know any Middle Eastern names. Fucking kill me. Fucking that, and they're doing a training exercise to defend themselves against American military incursion. That's what I fucking want. If you want to go all in on the position that no morally bankrupt faction should be represented in a neutral light in these games, then I want you to fucking commit to it, okay? Because drawing the line at Nazis is not enough. I disagree even with that, but if we're doing it, we're being consistent. That's actually praxis, though. Well, I know I've gotten all of you fucking hot and hard, fucking soaking wet down there at the prospect of a global campaign to eliminate American representation for military shooters. But in reality, I don't want this, okay? Here's what I want. Please. Here's what I want, okay? I don't want a world in which we are tipping over our fucking toes as though we are walking across glass, Die Hard style, to avoid representing, not even Steelmanning, just representing any regimes which we disagree with for fear that we're normalizing their iconography. I don't want that, okay? Because I'm sorry if this is a tough position to take in these days. I like art. I like art, and I like artists being able to do whatever they want. Now, I think that art should be subject to criticism. Don't get me wrong. If artists do bad shit, we should criticize the fuck out of them. You all know, what's her name? Nessa, the most recent Pokemon from the Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and she's the black girl who's wearing like 3 ounces of fabric and she got the booty. You know what I'm talking about? Chat, confirm. Chat. Nessa? It's Nessa, right? We're talking about Nessa? Somebody confirm that I have the name right. Whatever, I do. Okay, good. Listen. So, like, Nessa's like a black chick who's in the game or whatever, and she's hot. Everyone wants to fuck her. You want to fuck her, even if you haven't seen her yet. And, of course, and she's black, so some fucking East Asian artist drew her too pale, and people complained, and then people went hog wild, and somebody drew her as, like, a monkey or something. Like, that's fucked, and that person should be forcibly feminized, the person who drew that. But I would argue that the categorical like elimination of certain types of art or of certain representations within art is far more damaging in the long run than whatever potential benefit there could be from eliminating anything. I don't think there's going to be any benefit whatsoever. Literally none. Did they really think that like the global resurgence of white nationalism is like because in the war shooters you could play as the Nazis and then the edgy teens like went online and they saw like the Daily Stormer and they were like, oh, haha, they've got the Iron Cross and the fasci eagle up in the top left. That's okay. I play as them in video games. Kill all the Jews? I mean, if killing all the Jews is what somebody with a logo as responsible and you know authentic as the Iron Cross would say, then yeah, sure. No, I don't think this is how this happens. I really don't like the precedent that this kind of decision making would set. Let's continue with the video, huh? If given the option, I would never play as a Nazi. Yeah, fine. You know what? I could meet the video halfway here. I really could. If the devs, I would argue this, okay? In multiplayer military shooters, for one, you should be allowed to play American versus American or German versus German or whatever, okay? Like, it shouldn't all be like you have to stack teams, like one is Allies, one is Axis, you know? And for two, if you want to say, and that is to compensate for this, and point two is, if you want to say, hey, I never want to be a Nazi, never, then you should be able to check that on your profile. Just that, just, you know, just that, just I will always play Allied, never randomly assign me to that team. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Rather than Axis versus Allies. A good example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege. All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists.
Wait, in Siege, aren't the bad guys terrorists? Wait, who's up against who? in Rainbow Six Siege.
In fact, by having all
never
of the
played it.
characters as counter-terrorists training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and present of a threat that is.
Wait, it's a fucking training exercise? You fucking kill bitches in Siege. Damn. I've seen that. You kill people. All right. Fuck.
And if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable. Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other. Allow players to choose which side they're on. Now, of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems, such as creating shorter wait times for fascists, but you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended if it meant players had an active choice in what teams they would represent if you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games.
Okay, I really, 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 really hate the idea that just playing as the Germans or being ambivalent to playing as either side, but like they just said a fascist. Like this might give fascist lower wait times. You guys know that I come down pretty fucking hard on fascists. You know I'm not like giving them a tug job here. But saying like, yeah, all the normal people can choose to be allies only, and yeah, the fascists might have to have lower wait time. Like, okay, all right,
And if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical. You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events and be a realistic take on those battles.
No, I disagree with this too. God, fuck, man. I'm trying to be charitable. They're not saying the players are fascist. They're saying they're like in-game fascist. The fascist team gets lower wait times. Wash. Yeah, I know they would get lower wait times. I don't know. That sounded like he was accusing the people who would be playing as the Axis powers of being fascists. I'm trying to be charitable here, but no. It's okay to have sliding degrees of historical realism. You can have like your Arma 2 level of realism, which is like achingly boring, and then you can have like nobody gives a fuck anymore with, I don't know, what's a really fantastical, like nobody gives a fuck anymore historical game that doesn't outright have magic or alternate history? What's an example of that? I'm getting a lot of normie answers. Wolfenstein has alternate history, you dipshits. It has magic. What the fuck are you talking about? War Thunder, Battlefield, Deus Ex, Brother in Arms, TF2. Whatever. The point is, you can have different degrees of like historical authenticity, and that's totally fine. Just because like the German soldiers have access to a firearm that was actually launched in 1944, but the battle in which you're fighting in took place in 1943, so technically they wouldn't have had access to that submachine gun yet, doesn't mean like, oh, you've made that concession. Well, now fuck it. Might as well just do TF2 Red v Blue. Nah, I don't accept that. I fundamentally reject that idea. By doing that, then people would be like, why do you want to play as a Nazi? Are you a Nazi? Like, no, you need an opposing team. I do not believe this. I don't accept this. The idea that including Nazis as a playable group leads to there being more Nazis in real life. Or even if I did buy that, I don't buy the argument that this means that we should like incentivize or developers to not, or somehow push for developers to not make them playable. I come down very hard on the idea that art should be limited for political purposes. Very fucking hard on that. Very fucking hard. What'd somebody just say? I think he's referring to Nazis should be saved for the really accurate games. No, Nazis should be able to include it however. I completely disagree with that. Nazis should be able to be in historically accurate games and historically inaccurate games. Limiting art and like shitting on developers who include... No, this is so inconsistent. What the fuck? I'm not joking when I say that America has done more damage to the world than Nazi Germany did. I'm not joking when I say that. If we're making the argument that like shit regimes shouldn't be represented neutrally in games, then fuck yeah, then America gets out of here too. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. So if you're really making the argument that you shouldn't be able to normalize that, fine. No more American shooters. I'm not joking. I'm tired of American shooters normalizing our fucking foreign interventionalism. I'm tired of American shooters Call of Duty advocating for this hawkish fucking foreign policy where we assume that every other country on the planet is just waiting to amass an arsenal to invade the United States. I'm tired of Homefront. I'm tired of fucking Crisis. I'm tired of fucking Call of Duty. I'm tired of Battlefield. I'm tired of all these games reinforcing this hawkish, neoliberal, conservative, fucking interventionalist worldview. Absolutely. Fuck that. Fuck America. If we're not including Nazis as represented in our fucking war shooters, we're not including America either. Or, instead of that, we can let devs do whatever the fuck they want and criticize them when we believe their depictions are unnecessarily positive of bad groups. Now, again, the earlier example I gave, if we had a fucking Nazi game where you play as an SS officer and it glorifies the war against the Jews or whatever, that's bad. And those people should be forcibly feminized. Okay? That's bad. But that's not a categorical distinction. Okay? That's not categorical. I don't want that. I don't want people to just say like, oh, you can play as Nazis in this multiplayer shooter. They don't give you a 90-second cutscene at the beginning to show that you're the bad guys. You're making Nazis over here, buddy. I don't accept this. I don't accept it. I don't accept the argument. Fuck me. This is really frustrating because the politics here, I agree 100% with the politics here. The politics here are that we need to be careful of how representation in media can incentivize people to buy into certain belief systems. I totally agree with that, which is why I'm not being ironic when I say that I'm really fucking sick of the hawkish, pro-interventionalist political agenda that gets thrown into so many modern war shooters. I'm not joking when I say that. But that assessment is not as black and white. It's not as indistinct as just saying, oh, hey, in the multiplayer component, you can do this and that and this. Goose says, fuck you, you're not accepting this. You would absolutely not agree with this if it was a debate with Holocaust denial in it. Goose, that's a non sequitur. What the fuck are we talking about? We're talking about having iconography and military factions being represented in a neutral light in the military setting in multiplayer shooters. What does Holocaust denial have to do with it? Yeah, obviously I would disagree if somebody in the game was like, if you play as the fucking Nazi soldier and the Nazis and the voice lines for the Americans are like, oh yeah, army strong, hoorah! And the Nazi soldiers' dialogues are, did you know that the showers, the purported showers in the camps we're defending right now are actually just used to wash them? Did you know Zyklon B is actually just a delousing agent? Did you know that we actually have swimming pools there? If there was Holocaust denial being normalized in the context of the fucking interaction, then yeah. That'd be pretty fucking bad. But that's not quite the same, is it? That's not what we're talking about. That's just stupid. You're stupid. You're dumb, and you should feel bad for wasting my time by typing something out that I had to read. Being a Nazi soldier is not equal to being an American soldier. Yeah, the only difference between being a Nazi soldier and an American soldier is that one of the genocidal, world-destroying groups died off in 1945. That's the main difference. Nah, I kid. The Nazis were worse than America, obviously. Like, the politics they supported are far worse than the blith neoliberalism we push today. But America, as a product of it continuing to exist and being the most powerful nation in the history of the world, does more bad shit. It's like, what's an example here? What's a good example here? It's like America is like a big burly man who's trying to get to a gate on the other side of the terminal in an airport really, really, really quickly. So America's like shoulder butting people on the way over in like their drive for profit. They're shoulder butting like black people and fucking women and shit. And it's like them, and they're doing a lot of damage, like they're knocking people the fuck over. And then there's another person there, and it's like a toddler, and it's like the angriest little toddler with a little baby knife, okay? And the angry toddler is just cogent enough to recognize their one like directive in life, and it's to stab adult thighs. This is what the baby toddler is doing, okay? Non-stop. The knives are very sharp. So the baby's stabbing fuck all over the place. People getting stabbed. Now the baby's gonna get stopped like immediately, but so the big burly guy probably did more damage. America probably did worse, but the baby's like fuck it. You all understand what I mean, okay? Fuck it. I just came back from vacation. I didn't think we were going straight into this. Oh god. Whatever. Can we get back to this? What are we even doing?
To make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And you can't really say that you need Nazis anymore for historical accuracy. Oh, and once you let players get...
What? Wait, you can't even have Nazis in games at all unless they're going for 100% total historical accuracy? You have to justify that?
Say that you need Nazis anymore for historical accuracy. Oh, and once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate. And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich.
Guys, remember, if you have anything even slightly historically inaccurate in your game, that means that that you have to make it a fantasy setting to avoid any iconography representative of fucking Nazis or fascists or the Wehrmacht, okay? Remember, if you slip up even a little bit, that means your any case for including Nazis anywhere in your game is made completely invalid.
And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room...
Wait, when you press C, the automatic fucking, the captions that come up are in German. What are they trying to tell us?
...in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate.
This is so fucking stupid. Americans do this too. This is so fucking dumb. I'm gonna kill myself. Let's finish the fucking video.
And look, we're not saying we can't have games about World War II or about terrorism.
I mean...
We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist. But what we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something. And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you into. And really, if we are saying anything in this episode, it's this. Myself. Games can do better. And in this
You know, I should finish the video.
particular case, it's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better. All it requires is that we in the game industry be cognizant of the world around us and what these symbols we're drawing on mean. That we think as we're building, not just about the game we're working on, but about the world as a whole. If we can do that, we can take a big step forward for the industry. We can stop helping to normalize Nazis.
All right, paint stream. Wait, I don't need paint. I've got Clip Studio Paint, an actual art program. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. All right. Okay, this video's shit. Let's explain why beyond the ways in which we've already explained why. Oh god, that's a big brush. Oh boy. Okay, listen the fuck up. There's some clarifying comments in the YouTube comments by EC. I don't care about the clarifying comments. I'm not interested in the actual positions of extra credits. I'm interested in the content of the video. I don't really care what they believe. Oh fucking boy. Oh fucking boy. Okay, listen, we're going black. I wouldn't want this paint stream to get too political. All right, listen the fuck up. This is so fucking stupid, okay? So they made a bunch of really fucking dog shit arguments over the course of this that a hatred of Nazis should be based on disgust, that if you have any historical inaccuracy in your game whatsoever, that means that you don't need to include Nazis. They kind of implied that only like fascists would want to play as Nazis. They suggested that like presenting neutrally posed terrorists contributes to global conflict. I need like that claim is so unbelievably fucking brain dead to me. I actually need did I like hallucinate that? Was that a fucking dream? Am I high? It is incredible to me. Jesus fucking Christ. So they made all these arguments which basically suggest, like, if you were to extrapolate a position from the arguments they made over the course of this video, the argument would be that you should never include these people in the game ever, unless the game is 100% a hit piece against them. Unless you're going full fucking Wolfenstein, the entire game is about how bad Nazis are, you should never, ever, ever include them. Any historical inaccuracy, you don't need to have them. Oh, you can play as them in a multiplayer setting, don't have them as a skin. Like, and any of that, the only logical extrapolation from the arguments they make here is that you should never, unless you are absolutely 100% certain that nobody playing the game could derive anything other than an unequivocally negative message about these groups, you should never include them. But then, after they make all these statements, they go around and say, oh yeah, man, well, we're not saying you should never be able to have them in the games or that you shouldn't even be able to play as them. We're just saying, you know, maybe just don't treat them as skins and, you know, maybe just be careful and we can all just do better, you know? I hate this. This is a classic motte-and-bailey. They're making really dumb shit arguments up front, but at the end, they retreat back to a series of arguments that are much more easily defensible. And that really fucking frustrates me. Okay. Oh, fucking God. Christ almighty. So, first of all, okay? Hatred of Nazis should stem not from disgust. Disgust is irrational, it can be misdirected, and a tendency towards disgust is an inherently reactionary characteristic. It should be based in an understanding of their values and how much they do to harm people, okay? Disgust shouldn't factor in. I'm not disgusted by Nazis. I don't get grossed out when I look at them. I don't see the Iron Cross or a fucking swastika and need to, like, shit really bad or, like, vomit into my mouth and it, like, splashes against the back of my teeth. I don't do that shit. I understand why they're disgusting, not because of disgust, but because of a collected, comprehensive understanding of their values. And that doesn't stem from the normalization of iconography. That swastika could be on our fucking milk cartons, and I would still feel the exact same way. That's one. For two, this motte-and-bailey shit is really, really fucking disingenuous, okay? Jesus Christ. To make all those arguments, the historical inaccuracy one is incredibly invalid. Remember all those reactionaries who are like, you shouldn't be able to have a woman with a mechanical arm at Battlefield 5. That's historically inaccurate. And then we come up and say, well, there are tons of historical inaccuracies in this game. Why then do you have such a problem with this one? Probably because you have a problem with women. Okay? That is a valid counter argument. Oh, you don't like historical inaccuracy? Well, here's a bunch of other examples. Why are you so fucked up about this one specifically? Okay, easy counter argument, all right? This is not a valid argument. Oh, you had any historical inaccuracy in your game? That means history doesn't matter. You don't have to include Nazis. There's no reason to. That is not a valid fucking argument right there. The fuck are you talking about? That doesn't serve any you had a gun that was actually released by the Allies in 1953 with Israeli support. You can't have that in the World War II shooter. That's inaccurate. Might as well stage it on the fucking moon. So I'm gonna Steelman, okay? Watch me. All right, watch this. I am now going to Steelman this video because this was a dog shit fucking video, okay? This is a really fucking shit video. Watch me represent the exact same political stance with much better logic, okay? Are you ready? Are you fucking ready? My comrades. Hey there, fellow geeks and gamers. It's me, Vosh Vidya, coming at you with the hot political gamer takes. Now, I've heard a lot of hubbub about these things called Nazis. What even is a Nazi? Well, they're bad, for reasons I've gotten into in 87 other of my videos. I've heard a lot of people equating Nazis to terrorist groups and how they're represented in video games and how they're morally aligned. This is very stupid. Nazis are nothing like terrorists. Nazis are a specific political group with a specific political ideology based on genocide, terror, hate, apartheid, and racial supremacy. Terrorist just means people who commit violence against terrorist groups for political aims. They're really incomparable. No one should make that comparison. Anyway, some people have made the argument that by including Nazis in video games, you normalize that content and thus lead to the propagation of those values. Well, that is the case to an extent. So let's talk about that, okay? So, I believe in free expression, which means that I believe artists should be able to produce artistic content pretty much of any sort they like. Now, being a fan of artistic expression, I am also in favor of people criticizing that art. That's also important to me. So, we have art and we have criticism. What would we be looking to criticize about the inclusion of Nazis in video games? Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Nazis, whether we like it or not, existed, I don't like that, and have had a pretty tremendous impact on pop culture. Think of all of the classic movies, TV shows, books, and video games that rely upon the existence of Nazi Germany as a suppositional point, as a setting, as a plot point. So, whether we like it or not, they're a part of culture, and they're going to be included in games. Now, including them in culture isn't intrinsically bad, because there are examples of media which have Nazis included and lead to, I think, pretty good politics. Wolfenstein: The New Order is a good example. It shows the Nazis in a very negative light. This is good because Nazis are bad. Showing them in a negative light makes about as much sense to me as showing rapists and murderers in a negative light. It seems like a reasonable thing to do. The only difference being that you could conceivably murder with good purpose. There's no good reason to be a Nazi. With all of that being said, there are ways in which you can present Nazis that probably do have negative outcomes. Having video games that represent Nazis in a positive light are probably bad, for the same reason you wouldn't want to make a video game that glorifies raping children. If you had a video game where you got points every time you raped a child, that would probably be a bad video game, and you should criticize it. I would say the same of a video game that glorifies Nazis. However, a more subtle argument is that by including Nazis in a context in which they are not politically recognized and are rather just an interchangeable faction, a skin, essentially, that you can play as against allied soldiers, you might have the unintended effect of normalizing the inclusion of Nazis in popular culture, normalizing their values, and whitewashing the terrible things they believe in. I think this is a very interesting and compelling point that we should examine. Whether we like it or not, games are going to have people playing as Nazis. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with exploring art from the perspective of a historically bad group. That's fine. Lots of really cool pieces of art have been made from the perspective of the bad guy. Have you ever... No, I was about to make a really stupid joke. That's great, okay? Now, in regards to a very specific niche case here, what about the inclusion of Nazis as an interchangeable faction that exists effectively as a faction skin when playing in multiplayer? Don't you think that might have the unintended consequence of depicting the Allies and the Axis as two interchangeable sides in a conflict that doesn't have any political stakes? The answer, I would say, is yes. That is why I believe developers should, in a game as such, make an effort to represent fairly the politics involved in the matter so that people can, by completing the game, deal with the political context which formed these factions. So, I would think it is very irresponsible to make a completely devoid of context game in which there are just simply factions that, for War Thunder would be an example. If you can play in War Thunder and all you do is drive around tanks, and some of them have Nazi regalia and some of them have USSR regalia and some of them have American regalia, I would think that maybe the fair criticism could be levied there. Maybe there's something the developers could do to indicate the politics inherent to the conflict to help people understand why it's, well, bad to be a Nazi. Maybe there can be a story mode or a campaign that shows the context more amicably. Maybe, I don't know, there could be a cutscene, or maybe there could be some way of indicating it in the context of the fights that take place. Maybe if you play on the Axis side, you're very often using your tanks to defend the fortifications of concentration camps or something. Now, is that historically accurate? No. To my knowledge, tank battles did not usually take place directly outside of concentration camps. Thankfully, War Thunder is historically inaccurate in other ways, such as battles taking place with 40 tanks on either side and a couple of planes, and no foot soldiers whatsoever, and you fight over little towns that are 1/4 of a square mile. So historical inaccuracy isn't a huge problem there. There are ways that we can deal with these tricky political issues. That's totally fine. And I want to have those discussions. There are bad ways to have those discussions, though, like equivocating Nazis and terrorists, saying that being able to play as terrorists in Counter-Strike worsens the global conflict, saying that, or implying that only fascists would want to play as Axis-aligned factions in military games, that there's no other conceivable reason why one might want to do that, saying that if you have any historical inaccuracy in your game whatsoever, then you no longer need to have Nazis in there and that their presence has to be justified. These are what I would call very bad arguments. So, when we discuss this in the future, let's remember, kids, stay big brainy. Remember, disgust is not a valid argument against things that you don't like. And subscribe to me on Patreon. Thank you, folks. Geeks and gamers and femoids. Catch you later. So that was me that was me trying to steelman the contents of this video. It was obviously not written out beforehand, so I probably missed a few things there, but have a big brain. That's all you need. Yeah, that's my gist here. Listen. Extra credits are good. Like, I like the site, okay? Or the channel. I like them. And I like their politics, okay? I'm not trying to shit on them for that. That's not what I'm here for. Maybe they've gotten worse lately. I don't fucking know. I like them, okay? It's cute. I like little animated video essays. It's cute. They've got the cute faces. This was a really bad video, and it gave ammunition to a lot of really bad political actors. I know that there are a lot of people out there who have made response videos to this point. Many of them arguing against the same points I did from a very, very different perspective. And videos like this give a lot of credence to people who say that SJWs are screeching, irrational censorship monsters who are just looking to eliminate all parts of media they don't like. We need to be really careful when we present our views which are critical of media to not feed into the stereotypes that cause people to turn against us. Is that something we can all agree on? So, extra credits, because when I make this into a video, it's going to get cut off probably around here. To extra credits, I love you. I really do. I learned a lot from your videos. I haven't been watching them lately. I just like the hamster guy's voice. I'm sorry. This was a really bad video, but your politics are on point. Wait, hold on. Goose, why the fuck are you concerned about what Nazis think about us? Fuck Nazis. Goose, not caring about what the opposition thinks about us is how more of the opposition forms. You fucking retard. Outreach to reactionaries is literally the purpose of this channel. And people who are already teetering on the fence of being sympathetic towards fascists are people worth talking to, you fucking idiot. Leave this channel and go fling your body, crumpled and dejected and brainless, onto the bed and think about what you've said to me.
Stop using the R slur.
3 times a day.
No.
That hasn't changed.
You're not allowed to insult people with it.
Yes, I am. Especially when they, especially,
No. We're gonna have our mental health
especially
stream soon,
when
and
they
I'm talking
say
about using the R word
that
because you're
optics
stupid piece of
towards
shit.
reactionaries is just trying to play nice to Nazis. Fucking clan gang.
I hate you.
So is that thing? Right. Okay. So anyway, I love you, extra credits. By the way, the vast majority of the people who are going to be, is Antifa also bad then because they look bad to Nazis? All right. Goose, my friend, I'm giving you an all expenses paid vacation to not hear. Congratulations, my friend. Most of the people who are going to be criticizing this video are going to be doing it from a reactionary perspective, okay? And that's fucked. And I don't really like going up to bat for videos I disagree with, so I'm not going to be going over Critical's video or whatever. But, whatever the case is, that's my, I don't know, that's my fucking opinion. Can we all calm down? Can we all chill the fuck out? Please?
No.
Please!
No.
Let's check, how are donations doing? Can we check
Oh
donations?
God, you got so many.
Yeah, I bet I did, because I'm so fucking hot with my beard trim. Wowza! How does he look that good? The answer? I just trimmed my beard, guys. It's not that hard. Alright.
After this, talk about Hassan's food.
Yeah. Okay. We're starting on the 10th then. Alright. Every dumb reactionary has made a video on this. Yep, I know. It's an unfortunate fact of life that us left-leaning people and media people who are critical of reactionary media need to be extremely careful with how we construct our arguments to avoid giving credence to people who are politically opposed to us. It is very important. Can we? Amazing.